This video consists of rotavators operating in cold, wet, sticky soils. Most of them were taken the spring of '93 or the spring of '95, arguably two of the wettest and coldest springs on record. What's unique about the rotavator is our ability to control exactly what we're doing at any one moment. And I call this controlled shallow tillage. We're working in just that shallow soil on top that is dry. As the ground dries from the top down, we're able to work it without getting into the gooey stuff. Now, here you see a moldboard plow sequence the same day right opposite the street from where that Ford tractor was running. And you'll see how slabby the soil is. By working that little bit of dry ground on top, he's done and moving in the right direction. Here the ground was disked once and then moldboard plowed, and there are potentially 2, 3, or 4 more trips to get it finished. The situation here is, you'll notice this very dark soil area that we're going through. That is very wet. That's a hole where water has drained and it's stayed a lot wetter. Notice there's no dust right now. As he comes out of that wet hole, notice dust start to form. This is very heavy red clay where it cracks on the surface as it starts to dry out. It's drying where it's not exceptionally wet. Hence the dust. But when the dust disappears, we're in a wet hole where if he were trying to pull a disc, he would probably break traction, get the tractor stuck, and do a very bad job of tilling the soil. You'll notice we're using wheels only with the shield all the way up because that is what fulfills our objective. A roller would plug up in 3 feet if we had a roller on the back of this machine. Notice from the tires on the tractor how moist and sticky this soil is. But what we're doing is getting maximum air infiltration to get this ground to dry out, warm up. The blades are turning at a speed where wherever there's green vegetation, we're not missing anything, and we're getting that root mass on the surface for the sun to, as best possible, kill out via dehydration. Again, notice how we handle the volume of material, the corn stalks, how nicely it's flowing through the machine. The ground is so soft and spongy you can't really expect to cut anything in this situation, but we're not wrapping, we're not plugging. The power is going directly into the rotating blades that not only help propel the tractor forward, but also physically evict the material out the back. This is that very wet spring of '93. This is a farmer who got no fall tillage done and used this rotavator over 400 acres the spring of '93 because, as I point out, he was not able to do any fall tillage. You'll see a little bit of dust coming out the back of the machine. That's from the little bit of dry soil on top and the dryness in the residue itself. But that was one pass, and then he planted with row cleaners on his planter. Again, no need for fluid, for wheel weights, or for duals, or front wheel assist. Some of the tractors you see here do have special features, but they're just not needed because the rotavator is pushing the tractor forward. This farmer actually had tried pure no-till, was not happy with it, and then he went to using the rotavator in place of a burn down. He wanted to do some tillage to fulfill the killing objective, but then most importantly to get that soil to dry out and warm up. This is very heavy red clay in eastern Wisconsin, where it's surface drainage or no drainage. You'll see him kick out just a few stones out the back. But once again, the front wheel assist and the duals are not necessary. You can do all this with a 2-wheel drive tractor. Notice how moist the tires are. This is Algoma, Wisconsin, May 11th. You can look at the trees in the background and see that very few leaves have expressed themselves. This is very wet soil, but yet the farmer would not stop because he was running low on feed and he wanted to get some oats in there just to have something to feed his animals. This is on the Midwest BioAg Research Farm. This is the spring that Gary Zimmer started using the Howard rotavator, replacing a Miller offset disc and a Niemeyer power harrow. And I would argue this is when he really got a better grip on killing vegetation, because the combination of tools he was using before were cutting the plants loose, but the Niemeyer power harrow with the roller in the back was just transplanting the vegetation. That roller, when used right after disking, in combination with the power harrow, would just transplant the root mass back in the moist soil. Again, if you see here, you'll notice the tires are showing moisture. It is very cold and wet here, but at this date, the decision's made to move forward rather than not do anything. Why? Because the rotavator is doing a good job. This is a large organic dairy operation near Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. This is a good clean stand of alfalfa. There's not a lot of grass in it, a few dandelions, but alfalfa as a plant is very easy to kill. All we're doing here is cutting the crown loose from the stem, and that's enough to kill the alfalfa. They made one pass in this field, and when the temperature was right, they planted it to corn. This higher ground represents an area where they stored either plastic wrapped bales or the silage bags. It's dead soil. It's very, very hard. And what he's done here is slowed the forward travel speed of the tractor down, allowing the rotavator to penetrate that very hard ground better. The lower ground is moist and sticky, but that high ground was very dry. This is a situation where this is the earliest this farmer could get into the field. It was just too wet earlier to do anything, and what you see here is this is all regrowth. None of this was planted as a green manure crop. It just came up that spring. There's a lot of orchard grass out there, clover, all sorts of very desirable things that are fixing nitrogen in the soil and gathering nutrients. But it's very moist underneath. You can see because of the lack of dust how moist that ground is. And here in a second you'll see the operator lift the rotavator up to drive over this permanent grass waterway. But that machine is set just deep enough to fulfill the killing objective without going too deep and getting into moister, stickier soil. And that's what's important in everything you see in this whole video, is that we're going as shallow as possible, yet deep enough to fulfill the objective. If it's an organic farmer, it's important they go deep enough so as not to miss any root structure, and then get that root structure up on the surface so wind, sun, and time can dehydrate and kill it. Look at the tires on the tractor. That gives you an idea of how wet this soil is. Again, it's very late. This is near Lake Michigan, near Kewaunee, Wisconsin, and as I say, we're moving in the right direction because we're getting lots of air in the soil. The soil particle size is where we want it. If he were trying to do this with a disc, it would not work at all. In fact, the situation where only the rotavator will work because we're engaging in controlled shallow tillage. We're very much in control of what we're doing to the soil with our blade speed relative to forward travel speed. And once again, the duals and front wheel assist are not necessary. This is some alfalfa with dandelions, and as you'll see, we're just doing a beautiful job of not missing anything, cutting everything loose. This is southern Illinois, again the very cold, wet spring of '95. This is an organic farmer where his green manure crop was getting away from him. This is the first opportunity he had to get in on this field and start the killing process. And as you can see, we're doing a wonderful job. We're not missing anything, and we're only going deep enough to fulfill the killing objective and no more.